Hello, everybody. If you're joining us live this evening, pop on into this space, say hello, let me know where you're from. Hello. Are we live, Shell?
Everyone.
We are live. Fantastic. Yeah, so just come on in and say hello. I'd really love to introduce my team before we get into today's topic. Um, yeah, just pop on in, and once you're here, just let me know that you're here. I'd love to know where you're chiming in from, whereabouts you live, what's going on in your world. Because there's the likelihood that you're here because you're requiring a level of support, potentially a whole health overhaul. Maybe it's a transformation that you're after. Maybe it's to get to the root cause of your thyroid condition or your gut issue, or why you're feeling so flat and fatigued. It might be that you're unsure of what's going on with your pathology. You might be in a juxtaposition where you're doing all the things that you feel that you should be doing, or that you've Googled, or this, that, or the other. However, it's not actually helping you to the degree that you thought. Or you might be here because you're requiring some support and you're just needing a friendly face to really hear your story and understand that you're a real person and that you have real signs and symptoms and you need some help. So, yeah, let me know that you're here, say hello, and without any further ado, I'm going to introduce my beautiful team. We have the lovely Shell, pictured down the bottom of the screen. Shell is my absolute right hand, my left hand. Shell's been here working with me for about 3 years now.
Yeah.
And yeah, 3 years. And yeah, we've just formed a partnership. She really helps me with all the background stuff so that I can really focus on clients first and foremost. So when you see all the beautiful marketing, that's actually not my doing, that's actually Shell's doing. She's has a great talent, and of course, we're here to shine and to reach out to people that need our support. And in doing that, we need a level of marketing. So Shell's my absolute go-to and helper there, and also helps with a lot of the back end type tasks, and is often here in the live trainings as well to answer any questions. So so Shell, this is Shell, and then on my left, I think it's my left or it might be your right, depending on whether this reflects. This is Leanne O'Sullivan, and Leanne has recently joined the Thyroid Naturopath. Leanne's been with us since January this year. And Leanne has a very, very special place in my heart because she actually did the thyroid restoration roadmap about 3 years ago. So Leanne also knows Shell, because when Leanne was
Yeah.
doing the thyroid restoration roadmap, Shell was my helper back then. So Leanne now is on the other side of the fence and is now working with me as a support and accountability coach. And she is in the health space, has always been in the health space. But just like with a lot of people, you can't treat yourself. And when you're in the health space, you can't treat yourself anyway. But when you're in the health space, so you're too close to it. So Leanne sought out my support about 3 years ago, and is absolutely thriving. And like, we're still working on our health. I'm still working on my health. Shell's working on her health. Leanne's working on her health. Like, when does it stop? Guess what, ladies and gents? It never stops. As we are living through our life and evolving, we're tweaking, we're changing, and we're bringing in new elements because we're not linear, we're not stagnant. There's always flow, there's always ebb and flow. So, yeah. So, Shell, would you like to just say a couple of words of wisdom? Um, Having worked in this space, sorry, I'm really putting you on the spot here.
Well, what I can say is just I'm really happy to be here in this space working with you for the last 3 years, because it's just not nurturing myself as a person, but it's also giving me so much knowledge, and like opening me up into this kind of your world, that it's all about holistic health, and it really helps a lot for me.
Oh, that's fantastic, Shell. That's so beautiful to hear. I'm really glad that you pick up several things,
Yeah.
probably more than that, you know. And that's the thing, like we're here really like part of our mission as a team as well is to create this ripple effect around the globe. Like, is that a big goal? Well, yes and no, because when we impact one person's health, that potentially can impact another person's health, and that's how we create this ripple effect. So that's essentially how we're going to really imprint on this planet and really help to create change. So thanks for that, Shell. Now over to Leanne. Leanne, would you like to share some words of wisdom to this beautiful audience?
Well, having been on the other side of the fence and being a client, I just know how supportive Megan is, and so how she really puts 100% in. And I love being on this side because I can now be able to support her with her mission and our mission to actually put that 100% into every client and everyone that's potentially coming into our world, into Megan's world. So
Our
yeah,
world. It's
yeah,
our
our world, yes. Yeah, I've learned a lot, and I'm still learning, and I love learning more about my health and how, you know, I can be a support to all of you.
Yeah. Oh, beautiful. Thanks, Leanne. And you know what? This is like a last minute thing. I said to the team, I said, look, we did a team video a couple of months ago, and for some reason Facebook deleted it. So that's not my deletion, like it just got deleted. So I wanted to bring on Shell and Leanne, and yeah, just so that you beautiful ladies can see who the faces are behind the names. So let's get into the topic. So I'll let Leanne and Shell support in the background now. Um, See you later. Bye. See you tomorrow. All right, so let's get into today's topic. So essentially today we are talking about getting to the root cause, getting to the deeper layers, and what potentially the thyroid restoration roadmap will look like in your world, in actually helping you move forward with your health. So here's the thing, like as a practitioner, years ago, I actually used to practice in the one-on-one model where I would see a client and then maybe generally once a month or maybe 6 weeks later, I might see them again. And then there's quite a large space in between. And, as a person and as a human being, I understand too much that we're often being pulled from pillar to post. We've got other um, elements within our life. We may have children we're looking after, we may have the elderly that we're looking after, we may have pets and animals. We have jobs, some of us really high profile jobs. And the thing is that sometimes these um, changes, I don't like to use the word change because really what we work on is embodying a new way. Sometimes, this can just kind of get like left, or it's too hard, or it gets too difficult, because essentially when we're looking at really drilling down and changing the fundamental layers, this is not necessarily a quick fix. Okay, it can be, but sometimes it can take a little bit of time. And whilst we can have the pathology and we can have the supplements and we can have all of this data, there's no point in having any of that unless we're going to actually dive down deep and create some fundamental change at those deeper layers. So essentially, that's what we do. And this is why I've worked out that beautiful sweet spot, with the Thyroid Restoration Roadmap. Once upon a time, it was 3 months, then it was 6 months. And the sweet spot is about 4 months, because 4 months is around about the time where you get to the root cause. You get to know exactly what the drivers and the exacerbating factors are. You essentially get to know what's working in your body, what's not working in your body, what could be working better, what's the potential where's the potential for improvement in this, that, and the other. And with all of that beautiful information all together, you've got a team to work with you to support you every single step of the way. So, I mean, at the end of the day, you're not going to get that from a GP or a specialist. You're certainly not going to get that from a very generalized Facebook group or Google or just watching YouTube and all of those things, because it's not taking you as the unique individual you are into consideration. Because one of my hallmark sentences is, there's no one size fits all. There never is, there never will be. Which is why the program isn't like a set, structured, rigid program. It flexes, it ebbs and flows, because it depends on what's going on for you. And it depends on what level of support you need and where you need that support. So, for example, it could be more on, some self-talk, self-worth issues. It could be more of the emotional layer. Of course, we always delve into the physical layer because we want to know what's going on within your microbiome, within your gut mucous membrane. We want to know what's driving the inflammation, what's your cellular health like, what's your mineral matrix like, how well are you absorbing the nutrients, why is your thyroid suffering? We need to understand that. Okay, so this is why in the first month, just to give you a little bit of insight into what it will look like should you decide to work with us, in the first month, that's probably the most investigative month, because after our deep dive clarity through investigation, and after I've analysed everything that you've done so far and we've had our consultation, from there I can really pick where the missing pieces are. I can see where the question marks are and where there are literally some gaps in your health picture that we really need a little bit more data on. And that's where we do some functional testing through private laboratories that are gold standard, so that we can see what's going on deep down. All right. And then we marry that with, the consultation, signs and symptoms. And often everything correlates, whether we're testing your adrenals or your hormones or your gut health or doing a hair tissue mineral analysis, whatever we're doing, generally there's so many correlations. It's like, okay, that makes sense, that makes sense, that makes sense. So then we can really fine tune a treatment plan. So I'd just love to know, for those of you watching here live, and certainly if you're watching on the replay, please just give me a hashtag replay. I would love to know if you are currently working with a treatment plan, with a tailored, fine-tuned treatment plan. I would love to know. Just drop treatment plan here in the comments. Just going to refresh my screen because I'm not seeing the messages. Just type treatment plan, because I'd love to know, because I feel like it's incredibly important, because there's a lot of contradictory information out there. There's a lot of blanket information as well, like, just doing gluten-free. Now, gluten-free is absolutely, there's so much evidence to support that, but it's not just about going gluten-free. I'm just using this as an example, as one point. It's not just about going gluten-free. It's about what you're replacing that with, how much of that you're having, when you're having that, how your digestive system is coping with that, and so much more. So, there's a lot to be said for having, a bespoke treatment plan. Yeah, absolutely, Sharon. And Sharon and I have been working together for quite some time now. And, not every case is the same. For some of us, there's a lot of complexities. There's a lot of overlays. And that's where the treatment plan needs to evolve. It needs to evolve with our evolution as a person, because sometimes, we come into this space of healing and we get on this journey and we think, okay, I'm just going to do X, Y, Z, and then I'll be fixed. If it was only that simple, because what we're really after here in the Thyroid Restoration Roadmap is a complete transformation, and that can go up in little levels, little layers. Like it might begin with you've got some clarity with your thinking. How great is that? It might be that you lose a bit of weight, or you clock in and dial in your metabolic health, so your metabolism starts to work for you, not against you. It may be that you're really lowering down that systemic inflammation. It may be that you've just got that little lift in your step and you're not dragging your feet. You don't have that full-on fatigue, that body kind of like hit by a bus fatigue. I know what that feels like. I've had that before. Instead, you've got that little bounce and that little glimmer of light, like, okay, all right, so let's get on with the day. Okay. So, yeah, I just love to hear from you. What are your main overarching signs and symptoms? What's the biggest challenge that you're facing right now? I know many years ago, for me, it was anxiety. It was full on anxiety, and I didn't realize I was anxious at the time. It just had, you know, started to become my norm. Like one little thing would go wrong, like the computer wouldn't start in the morning, and it was almost like it was World War III, you know, which is quite hilarious. I just think back at that now and I'm laughing at myself, but at the time it was very real because my body received that stress in such a real and overwhelming capacity that my nervous system was just going through hell every day, you know? And now oh yeah, well, it's not working. Okay, let's just move on to the next thing. Like it just really is water off a duck's back. But that's something that's taken years for me to, just, I suppose, expand my nervous system capacity and really place a priority and a boundary around what I feel is a responsible thing or a reasonable thing to get stressed over, right? So yeah, anyway, I just thought I'd throw in my little example there, but there are many examples of what can trigger your thyroid issue, your Hashimoto's or Graves'. It could be something biological, like one of my recent clients, Belinda. For her, it was the vaccine. She knew it. She was unsure at the very beginning. She had two vaccines within a short space of time back in 2022. She knew it in her heart. She could see that actually there were so many signs and symptoms, post that vaccination. I'm talking about the COVID one. And she at that time, she wasn't listened to, she wasn't heard. And just recently she came into my world and we did a deep dive and did a comprehensive treatment plan for her. We didn't really need to do functional testing because we knew what the trigger was already. And she's actually going so well. It just really warms my heart. She's implemented everything 100%, and she's just going incredibly well. So I actually spoke to her recently, and yeah, she's still going incredibly well. Just eating a cup of tea. Alrighty. So I'd love to hear from you ladies, like what is it? What is the main driving factor? What is it that you're really needing to understand about your health? Because whilst I have the Thyroid Restoration Roadmap, which is a comprehensive, holistic program, it's not like a one size fits all program. It's very bespoke, very tailored, very individualized. However, and there's two prongs to that. There's a space where we're working very closely together you know, in a high proximity level. And then there's another space which is more generalized. So, for example, if I'm talking about food quality or water quality, I'm not just going to talk about that to one person. I'm going to talk about that to all of my clients. So that's where I deliver this group space as well. So we have two kind of elements. So it's very, very comprehensive. But there's many different ways in which I work. Like Belinda, she didn't need that at that point in time in her life. What she really needed was something that can really lower the inflammation in her body with what was actually occurring with the spike protein. So we really, you know, dialed in that, you know, with a very, very bespoke treatment plan, which is what I call, you know, a bridge to get her from A to B. And when she gets to B, maybe in the future she will may require something else, some other level of support. But at the moment, with her proactivity, most likely not. But you know, we're all different. You know, some of us need more support. Some of us need even more functional testing. You know, like Emma, one of my clients from about 18 months ago, 2 years now, you know, she calls it her miracle baby. She had a baby in December. And, you know, when she came to me, she said, look, I'm coming to you because I've got Hashimoto's and I've got thyroid issues. But the cherry on the top would actually be to fall pregnant and have a baby because they'd been trying for several years. And you know, on the pathology reports, it basically said infertility, which is really sad because it almost plants a seed that, you know, that's not going to happen. However, we found what the sabotaging factor was. We found that it was actually mold in her home, and she had the genetic predisposition that actually meant that her body was severely impacted by that mold, which actually became an endotoxin in her blood and was not only causing issues with her thyroid, but also with her fertility. And this lovely lady actually moved out of her home. In addition to that, we were plugging holes in the bucket. You know, we had a very bespoke treatment plan, and now she, you know, she was able to fall pregnant and have a beautiful baby. So this is the outcome that can occur depending on what's going on for you. You know, it might be something else. You might have a chronic issue that you've been dealing with for quite some time, or you might have some signs and symptoms that, you know, you've been dealing with for a long time now, and you might actually be one step forward, two steps back, and just really not getting to the bottom of what's going on. So I'd love to actually hear from you, whether you're watching the replay or not, whether you're here live. I'd love to hear from you. Like, what is the actual big elephant in the room for you? What do you feel like when you really just breathe out and just really tune in? What is the big elephant in the room? What's stopping you from getting well? What is stopping you from bringing balance back to your thyroid? What's stopping you from actually getting to the bottom of what's holding you back? What is holding you back? Is it circumstantial? Is it something in your environment? Is it your mindset? Is it your emotional wellness? You know? And all of these areas are incredibly valid, which is why it deserves attention. It absolutely deserves the attention. Okay? So, you know, there's one way that you could work on your health. You know, you could you know, get your labs done and then, you know, trial a few things with your diet. And that's what most people do. You know, that's certainly where I started. And that gets you so far. But essentially what I find is it can be really difficult if there are some other elements that are really pulling you back. It might be that you just, you know, you're unsure or you're unaware that there is a systemic driver of inflammation that you may not be aware of. okay? Or there might be another element that's really sabotaging your ability to get well, okay? So, you know, for all of us, you know, it's different things. So just feeling to your heart, you know, you might want to put your 2 feet on the floor and just really take a deep breath and just, you know, completely empty your mind and just feel into your heart space, which is your seat of intuition. It's the actual real brain. It's the real brain. And within that heart space, just tune in, like, what is it that's preventing me from getting well? And whatever that is, that's where we will look, because you know your body better than anybody else, better than the specialist, better than the GP, better than me. You are your own best doctor. I'm here to support you. I'm here to collaborate, to team up, to be in partnership. I'm not here to tell you what to do. Sometimes I do tell you what to do, but in a very, very gentle, loving, nurturing way, you know. But, you know, more often than not, you actually have the answers inside. You just may be blocked from receiving them on some level. And then, of course, you know, we get to, you know, we get the clinical knowledge. We get the knowledge and wisdom of actually what's going on in your body, you know, and we marry all that together and we fine tune it. And let's start here. Then let's do this. Okay, that's actually working really well now. Let's now do this. Okay, to really craft your bespoke dietary and lifestyle blueprint. And that's actually how you get the transformation. Sometimes that doesn't come about in 4 months. I'm going to be completely honest. Sometimes, you know, many times it does. Many times it's like, you know what, I'm on a roll. I know enough about what's going on and I can absolutely go it alone and continue. Other times, you know, we need to continue with a little bit further support. It's all very individual. Of course, there's always an offering of support. However, this deep dive container, which is across 4 months, really allows me to understand the finer points of what's actually going on for you with your health picture so that I can help those really help you with those really subtle areas as well as the obvious contenders. Okay? Because the subtle areas are equally as important. So if you're truly after lasting transformation, a transformation that's actually going to compound in years to come for you to actually have the health abundance and the longevity that you not only are striving for, but the transformation that you deserve, just type transformation here in the comments. And what we'll do is we'll just reach out to you. We'll just have a conversation about your health, what your specific challenges are, and what your goals are. And then I can map out a plan as to how this 4 months will look like for you. And I need to also state, because we've been doing a bit of marketing. We've got some spaces that have opened up recently, so we've been doing some marketing, and this 4 months actually includes an extra month. So you'll actually, sorry, I should have mentioned that, you'll actually receive 5 months. So you'll have 4 months plus an extra month. And that is so that you can have that extra time to really embody all of the changes and really concretize everything that you've learned so that you can then move on from there with clarity and confidence. So if you would like to have a conversation with myself, just type transformation. If you're watching the replay, just type #replay and type transformation, and then Shell or Leanne will reach out to you and we'll just pop a link into your messenger chat, and you can book a call with me and we can go through your specific health picture, whether it's Hashimoto's, whether it's Graves', whether it's thyroiditis, inflamed thyroid, sluggish thyroid, whether it's gut issues, whether it's symptom of thyroid, but it's actually not a thyroid issue, which we actually, you might think it's not because the parameters on the pathology are really broad. But some of my clients have come into my world and they actually think they've got a thyroid issue. But when we actually do all the, the proper testing, meaning like the full lab panel, etc., we actually find that actually the thyroid's that domino hasn't fallen yet. It potentially could, but it hasn't. But the problem is the adrenals, because sometimes the fatigue, we think it's thyroid, but it's actually adrenals, because that can cause a lot of issues with blood sugar and weight gain and sluggishness as well. So yeah, many of my clients actually come into my world thinking that there's a thyroid issue, but when we nut it out, it's not the main thing. There's other things that are going on. So whatever it is for you, if you've got the signs and symptoms, that's the most important thing. It's way more important than what's actually on the pathology, because what's on the pathology is just a marker. It's a snapshot in time, and it's basically a diagnostic measure, like a stage point. But yeah, we're not trying to manipulate the markers. What we're actually working on is your specific health picture to get you to feel better in your body so that you actually are thriving with energy and clarity, and you've rebooted or recalibrated your metabolism, and your body's actually working with you, not against you. So that's actually what we do. So if that's what you're interested in and you'd like to find out more and you're actually ready to take that leap, just type transformation and we will team up and potentially partner up so that you can actually get to the bottom of what's going on for you. So that's it from me tonight. I hope, thank you for everyone that's come on here this evening, and I look forward to connecting with you. Again, if you're watching the replay, just do a hashtag replay, type transformation, and we'll reach out to you, and so that you can actually get a bird's eye view of what it will look like should you decide to come into the Thyroid Restoration Roadmap. All right, that's it from me. Bye for now. Have a beautiful evening. Bye for now.